Hi, and welcome to the Go-To Girls with your hosts, Lisbeth and Lynn.
This isn't just another podcast for women. This is a gathering place where we're going to share, enlighten, and laugh together as we nurture and nourish deep friendships with our listeners.
Women need spaces where they can be authentic, honest, curious, and feel supported. This podcast will remind the listener that life is just beginning and there is so much out there waiting for us to experience.
And every week we will share more stories, we'll share knowledge and our dreams, and most importantly, our hearts with this Go-To Girls community.
So settle in wherever you are as we begin our conversation that is intended to inspire, enlighten, and fill your soul.
Hi, Lynn. Welcome back to our next episode. I am so excited to talk about this episode because I am literally going through this myself. And I know that you have been going through it for a while of releasing responsibility and finally being able to let go and just feeling so free from doing that.
I'm excited about this topic. I always wanted to be irresponsible. Oh, oops. Yeah, I guess you didn't mean it that way.
No, but like we have been carrying responsibility for so many years as women, as mothers, as sisters, as daughters. And there's just this feeling that comes through as we move through the next chapter of our lives where it's like, oh, I don't have to be home at 5 to cook. As an example, for everybody, it's different. But, I can go away for a women's weekend away. I mean, I myself, and good for you all women that have done this for all these years. I have lived in a bit of a traditional marriage where it's like when I went away, I kind of went away with my husband because I would feel guilty to go away while he stayed home. And I know that's old time and it's not the way that it is now, but I don't have that feeling anymore. You and I have talked about going away and traveling together, and it's like, yeah, right? Like we can do this now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So tell me, what is freeing for you? Like, what comes through for you?
I think from being like a mom, for example, when I knew my son was ready to be launched and live his own life and such, I did think about it a little bit ahead of time, but thinking about it now, I would love to suggest that we start thinking about what happens with our lives once these responsibilities do fall by the wayside. Because I did feel like that, I don't like the term empty nest, but because really it isn't about that. It's more about still being the bird in the nest, the mama bird in the nest, but now I've got wings and I can fly. Like I don't have to look after my eggs and babies anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember when it all kind of ended, when your last child leaves home and is launched, there is a feeling of loss and sadness, and it can be quite discouraging for a period of time. And I think I would have liked to have thought about it more ahead of time, like planned that day better, so that I saw it as an opportunity to grow and become who I wanted to be and do what I needed to do and so on. And so it's I think it's nice that we're talking about this because people who aren't there yet are going to have sort of a heads up that you should maybe start contemplating what you're going to be doing with yourself. And we have talked about purpose and so on, and you do feel like your purpose is gone, but it's just you have a set of habits that you formed from being a mom. And once your children have left, it's just a time to redevelop new habits and form a new life. It's something that deserves some contemplation beforehand, I think.
And see, this is another interesting area because you and I are a little bit different here. You're older than me, and I still have my two when I say kids, adult sons at home, and I feel the sense of freedom in that I don't have to be I don't want to say be part of their everyday lives. They live here. We have dinner together every night. We play games every night. We certainly connect and are with each other. But there's an independence. They're living their life and they're doing what they need to do. And I'm very much in that multi-generational Mediterranean kind of energy where, I mean, I could live with my kids forever. And And if they wanted to move out, I would be totally good with that too. There's lots of things, and I think it's healthy in a lot of ways to go out and start your own life. But then, of course, especially with the way things are today, there's lots of benefits as well, staying at home. So either way, we can still let go of the responsibility and have this sense of freedom. And like I said to you, it's just been in the last few years where it's like I wake up and it's this feeling of I can do what I want to do today, because I don't have to take care of so-and-so. I don't have to make sure that, well, I do actually still make sure all the cooking is there, but that's because I enjoy cooking. I love cooking. I love eating healthy. So I really make that a priority in my life, but that's a choice. It's not something that I feel like I have to do. Sometimes, like if Ed's renovating or something, then I feel, yeah, I need to make sure that he's got his lunch and his dinner, and that I still do. And if I'm going away, I make sure that there's food there for them. But other than that, I feel very free to do and to be exactly where it is that I want to be. And we introduced this a little bit before about friendships. Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, it's been introduced into your life more so now than ever before. And I think that has to do with this stage of life.
Yeah, it does, for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about freedom. What does freedom look like? What does freedom look like?
I feel like freedom is just opportunity. Some of the things we've talked about, like trying to let go of fear and that sort of thing. It's hard when you're living your middle time of your life, and that may be with children, or it may be with your job or whatever, where you really become entrenched in a set of patterns or habits,
right?
And you really don't give yourself, most people don't give themselves the time to really explore what it is that you want to express within yourself,
right?
And so once the opportunities arise where you have that freedom, I think it gives you the time. For me, I had to sort of sit with that for a while, because I really hadn't given it any thought for like decades.
A lot of women go through this.
I thought, like, what do I want? How do I even figure out what I want? It almost felt impossible to think about what I would do with myself once the freedom had arrived. And for me, it was just exploring all kinds of new experiences, whether that was travel. And for me, it was also traveling, like you mentioned about traveling with your husband. My husband and I have done a lot of traveling, but I said, I really want to go and travel by myself with, there was some family friends that were putting together a trip to Morocco. So I went to Morocco for 2 weeks with these friends, and I hadn't traveled without my husband before. And it was an amazing experience, because not only was it an enjoyable trip being on my own like that, I got to spend a lot of time on my own as well, which was like in between touring and so on, to really sit with myself and feel kind of experiences I wanted to try and experience, enjoy for the future. And I remember doing the same thing a couple of years later. I went to Costa Rica and did the same thing. And I spent a ton of time down by the beach, lying in a hammock and just listening to the ocean. And it really was a time to be with myself and explore different things. And when I came back both times, I just sort of tried a bunch of stuff. I took like painting class and watercolor painting art class and some art, and I learned how to skate better. I learned how to swim. Like I took classes there with a coach on how to swim better.
Good for you.
And I really didn't like, it's not necessarily that I wanted to, and I didn't actually take up a lot of these things, but I just tried a bunch of stuff. I just took courses, some of the stuff through the rec department at the city and that sort of thing. So I just, even things I didn't think I would necessarily like, I just tried it, because you just never know, and because you just assume you mightn't like something. But there was new things that came out of that I discovered I did really enjoy. And so it's like jumping in there and experiencing life in every way you can. And that helped sort of funnel down what things resonated with me and vibrated with me and what didn't. And and now I, found some things that I really, really am enjoying in life.
They often say that when you take yourself back to your inner child, like when you were really young, that's who you really are. So like if you were a very extroverted person and you loved like running or playing sports, or if you were in dance, or whatever that energy is, like that tends to be your organic nature. But we lose so much of that as we get responsibilities and work and try and keep the whole family together. Like, when's the last time you danced, right? And one of the things that I found, like, I love to dance. And so I put the music on and, I'll just dance around. And it's great exercise, by the way. Like, it's great for the heart, really gets the heart rate going. But, you're just dancing to your favorite tunes. And, when you're having to have all these other responsibilities that we've talked about, that's just not in your calendar. Like it's not in your schedule. And so it almost feels selfish in the beginning. Again, I keep coming back to, you're overriding this program that, we got to produce, we got to put out, we got to make money, we got to feed the family, we got to keep our house clean, we got to, let's just talk about keeping the house clean. Like, for who? For who? I've had you and Kevin coming here. I've had lots of people coming here. I have a dinner party next Thursday, and I've got a huge industrial-sized laundry sink in my front entrance because we're still renovating the laundry room. I don't care. Like, before, that would never happen. Everything had to be perfect, and not perfect, but look nice, and prepare. And now, I just step over it. Make sure you don't fall, like... I don't know, it's irrelevant, because the only thing that matters is spending time with these girls.
Yeah.
And no one cares about this large industrial sink that's sitting in my front hallway, right? But these are the things that are changing, that we're overriding this program. And whether your house is clean, no one cares. In reality, they're here to spend time with you.
It's so true, isn't it? I have the same thing going on because I'm putting in a bathroom in our house, and all the ceiling in the dining room's all ripped out because we're adding all pipes and electrical and such. And my grandaughters wanted to have a Valentine's Day party to invite us and their mom and dad and their aunt. So it didn't even occur to me to worry about the fact that our dining room looked like a mess. We just decorated the ceiling above the table and had a great time.
Yeah.
So it never occurs to me. I'm not sure it ever did, maybe with me that much, but certainly not now, worrying about what other people think about where I live, how I dress, where I go, what I do. I really have let go of that, for sure. And that's a real freedom, when you're not worried about other people's opinions on how you're living your life.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And judgments and how other people see, or how they think, or they criticize, it doesn't matter. Like, it's such a freeing thing. But for a lot of our listeners, it's like, how do you get to that point? Because you don't have to be at our stage of life in order to free yourself from that. But it does help a little bit, because I think there must be some hormonal influence in there, because I can tell you, growing up, and my mom would say this herself, so I'm not speaking out of turn here, but like, my mom definitely is a bit of a perfectionist. Like, she loves everything perfect and in order, and so I grew up with that, and I literally had to unlearn. And the way that I was taught to do it is, I had to leave the dishes in the sink. And I had to leave the dust balls in the corner. And overriding that program was really hard in the beginning. I can tell you that. Like, it really did affect me. And then, then I would do the dishes, and I would clean up. And then the second thing was, okay, you're allowed to clean it up, but you're not allowed to double check it. This is really bad. I used to lay on the floor and check to make sure there wasn't any dust after I had washed it. And I would literally scan the floor. Yeah. I grew up European. What can I tell you? And so that's the way it was, because basically how clean your house was how clean you were. Like, and I'm going back into the times. I'm not criticizing anybody and saying that's the way it is now. I'm just giving my own personal experience here. And so I had to unlearn. And like, leaving the floor, knowing that I hadn't washed like that corner over there, it would literally sit with me in my brain. Wow. I kid you not, when I was out. But oh my goodness, I'm sure my husband wishes I had a little bit of it left. Because now it's the total opposite. I don't see any of it. We've literally just gone through a year and a half of renovating, where I didn't clean anything for a year and a half, right? Because what's the point? You're just going to mess it up anyway. And it was probably the best year and a half. But I had no living room. I had no family room. But that meant I didn't have to clean it either.
Yeah,
right.
perfect.
So it was perfect, and lots of beautiful gatherings with my girlfriends out and working where I'm working, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, and what you were saying about the inner child earlier on.
Yeah.
That I never fully disconnected from my inner child. I've always been a silly, goofy
Oh, I know
person.
that. A silly goose. That's how I would say it. A silly goose.
Yeah. I don't have a great filter. Like, I tend to just say.
No, you don't have a filter.
Okay, I don't have a filter.
You do not have a filter.
Even. No.
No, I know. That's why we get along so well.
Yeah,
Because I don't either.
When I think about it, if it crosses my mind of thinking about that, some people can't take a joke. and I just don't worry about that at all. Like, I'm not being mean or malicious to anyone. It's just that whenever something like, if I say something and I can look and see that so and so over there looks a little bit shocked or offended, I just feel like, oh well, that's their perception and their attitudes, and it
that's
doesn't
their
mean
reality,
I shouldn't be
not
having
mine.
Yeah, so I don't worry about it too much. And then playing with kids, like, I think my grandchildren, my daughter and two granddaughters and grandson, will all agree that I'm just a very big kid. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
I love the way they interact with me, because they don't treat me like an adult. They don't have the reservations that they might with someone who isn't connected to their inner child the same way. And so they say the darndest things and do the darndest things, because they don't kind of look at me as being
a grandmother. 68.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun. Like, example of, because here's what kids say, right? Like, I do color my hair, and I have sort of a medium darkish brown hair, and my granddaughter, who's 7 now, didn't know or understand that people color their hair, and she said, "How come my other grandmother has gray hair and you have brown hair?" And I said, "Well, I color my hair just because it makes me feel good. I just like it, how I feel and look with darker hair." Mm-hmm. And so she said, "What?" And she sort of put her hands on my head and sort of parted my hair and saw all the gray roots under there. And she goes, "Oh, Grandma." And then she said, "Why do you do that? Are you doing it to make yourself look young?" And I said, "Maybe, I guess so." And she said, "It's not working." The funniest thing ever. She thought, she was thinking I was trying to look like a teenager, and she said, "It's not working."
I have to tell you, your grandchildren are probably the luckiest grandchildren in the world. The things that you do for those kids and just who you are, honestly, has to be the luckiest grandchildren. And I'm sure your son and his wife are so happy to have you in their lives. And I know your whole heart revolves around your family, and it's just so beautiful to watch, and I just know how beautiful your heart is.
Thank you.
And that connection really is freedom as well, right? Because
it is.
Not everybody has that, and so they're not feeling that same freedom. Mm-hmm. And so it's about building something outside of that. Yeah. Where you are creating a chapter that is about you. And like you were saying about going to these workshops or classes or groups, that you discover, like, this is your time to really discover who you are today and bring back that inner child energy of the things that you genuinely loved and enjoyed and that brought joy. Mm-hmm. And we need to give ourselves permission to do that. And women tend to find a million excuses of why now's not the right time, why we can't afford it, why we can't make it, and who needs us now. I say this just from my own friends. I can't tell you with how many people they have to go rescue some other friend, or they have to go rescue someone over here, or they have to work all of these hours. And I literally just had a client yesterday where it's like when then you get hit with a diagnosis, all of those things that she had perceived as being so important, it just stopped right there.
Yeah.
It literally just stopped in her track. And it's almost like sometimes we go through this life like a movie and we're not even watching it. Mm-hmm. When you're watching a movie, but you're really not, you're just kind of going through. That's how our own life can sometimes feel, because it's just so automated. It's just like, the word that comes to me is like a drone. Like, it's just, you're just automated and following this energy. And then you get hit with, it could be a diagnosis, it could be a loss of a job, it could be anything. But the point is, everything just stops.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you look around in this bubble, in this silence, and it's almost like this awakening.
Yeah.
And in this awakening, again, I'm back to the garden, the seeds, because this is where these new seeds are then planted that feel whole, that feel authentically you, that feel nourished and nurtured by you, for your own soul energy, for your own happiness, for your own experiences, for your own wisdom, that doesn't have to have the echo of everybody and everything around you.
Yeah.
And that is the gift very often that a tragic event like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like you die in order to live.
Yeah.
Like you go through that feeling of, like you sort of live the death in your mind, but after you have done that in your mind, it wakes you up to live your rest
so
of your life.
differently. So
Yeah.
differently. And then what happens is that all those things that we took for granted, all of a sudden now we have all this gratitude for it that we just took for granted. Like even being able to walk. As you get older, people start to, whether they get arthritis or they get MS or they have to get a knee replacement, or you hear so many things, right? Until that happens, nobody thinks about giving gratitude for being able to walk every day. It's just understood you can.
Yeah.
Or working with your hands, especially if it's in your job. But, we cook with our hands, we wash with our hands, we create with our hands. And then, God forbid, like something happens to your hand or arthritis or whatever, and we're not able to do those things. We just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And so something happens that turns on these sensitivities that are part of our fabric of our being. And I often use the analogy of, if you have a piece of fabric that's cotton, I encourage you to separate the cotton from the fabric. And can you really do that?
Right.
Right? And this is a really important analogy that I learned, because we have to not separate ourselves from us.
Right.
We are the fabric. And we tend to separate ourselves in order to be something, to please. Oh, well, that's a big one, right? Pleasing and appeasing other people. And so we come to this stage and we come back to this fabric, to this cotton, and we come back into our oneness.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, and talk about this another day, but I feel like giving and receiving are actually the same thing. And we can talk more about that. But I find that people who are real givers, like my mom was like that for sure, and bless her heart, but she's has passed away. But and other friends I know, they're really giving people. But my mom, it took her, till she was much later in her life, in her late 80s, early 90s,
Right.
to realize that her being compelled to give all the time was because she wasn't wanting to look inside and do her inner work, right? So being a giver is a beautiful thing, but you have to receive as well in a balanced way. And that just made me think of that when you were talking about giving and so on. So we have to remember that you do have to achieve the balance between giving and receiving.
Yeah, but it's foreign for a lot of women.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, how do I give to myself without feeling guilty, without feeling selfish, without feeling that I'm just, I'm not producing? That's a big one for women, because they've been doing. Jesus, I can remember when I had my son, I would literally, we lived in Burlington and I worked in Mississauga, and I would get up at 6:30 in the morning because I would have to prepare the food for myself and my family and my son. And I would be out of the house by 7. And then I would be driving him to my in-laws. Thank God, I was so lucky to have my in-laws. They took care of my son. And then I would work all day from 8:30 to 4:30, drive back to my in-laws to pick my son up, and drive back to Burlington, which was like a good 45 minutes at that time. Now it's well over an hour, but back then, 45, 50 minutes. And then you would have to now make dinner. Like, and this was your everyday. This was your everyday. So when we talk about, oh, we should meditate, we should, go for a walk, it sounds great. But when you're looking at the reality of the day and what we have to do when we have families, sometimes it just doesn't feel practical for people, because by the time I would sit down, it was 7:30, like I was cooked. There was no extra time for that. And so that's one of the things that we're very lucky today. A lot of people get to work from home. And I think that's part of the reason that kids are not just assembly lines of our producers today, because they've watched us and thinking, I'm not doing that. In some ways, they're smart, right? Because I don't think it's a healthy way to live, because, you miss so much family time. And I've done enough traveling to Europe. I grew up in Europe. I'm Danish myself. And I lived in Denmark till December 14th, 1979, actually. And in Denmark, it's a totally different type of lifestyle. They, what is the saying? They live to work. Or no, they work to live.
Yeah.
And here we live to work, right? It's the complete opposite. Everything is centered around togetherness and enjoying each other's company and experiencing and loving life. That's not the programming over here. It's about capitalism. It's about getting ahead. It's about success. It's about what university you're in, and how if you can buy a house, if you can buy a car, if you can have kids, like all of this energy. It's just so different, night and day. Night and day. So it's such a freedom. I can remember even I'm getting off subject now, but I can remember visiting Denmark. I've been back a few times, and it's like, oh, you go there, and I go back to my home country where I was raised. I was raised out in the country in the middle of nowhere with cows and horses, and something just happens. Like everything just comes off. I don't know how else to explain it, but all this energy. And so you do your visit, you've been traveling around, and then you get to go in the airplane. And now you're coming home, and I can just feel all that.
Totally know that feeling. I feel that every time I go, like say up north to one of the parks and go camping or whatever. Right. You just become so, inner peace is beautiful and calm, and there's nothing sort of external affecting you. And then as I'm driving back down the 400 to come back down to the Hamilton area, it's like I can feel that sinking feeling hitting me as I walk along or drive along the highway, because I feel like, oh no, I got to go back into the vortex again. Anytime I go sort of a place of natural beauty or a relaxing environment, coming back into where I live, I mean, you sort of move past it again after a while, but I know that feeling of coming back to that reality.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. Part of the reason for this podcast is for those women that are driving to work right now or driving home from work right now, listening to us, right? Like it's a form of relaxation, because in social circles, when we talk like this, I know this is why we, as busy as we are, you and I always make a point of getting together, because I don't know, it's not only is it nurturing and nourishing, but it's like, it's when I say it's therapeutic, I mean like, I don't even know how to say it. I just know that when you leave and we've had a day together, my soul just feels so full. It does. Like I just feel so nurtured. I just feel so full that I'm ready to go on with whatever I need to do. It's like I've just been filled up.
Yeah.
That's the feeling. And that's why we did the podcast, because we're thinking if we both feel this way, maybe other people will feel this way listening to us. Who knows, right? Yeah, but that is how I feel.
Yeah.
And that is freedom.
Yes.
That is freedom, when we allow and give ourselves permission to really go into what nurture and nourishes us, and then create based on that. Because if we had to put our schedules together, we really don't have time to do a podcast. Look,
I know.
And yet there's something that's like, we got to do this.
Yeah. Well,
right?
It's the desire to serve, I think, right? Like you want to share experiences and information that you think might help other people find what we're finding for ourselves.
Yeah, like for me, I just want to take them along for our walks, and that when they leave this podcast, they feel the way you and I feel when we've been together. For me, it's as simple as that. And the conversations you and I are having are simply a reflection of the conversations we have if we were walking in the park. And so it's just so joyful. And it's so nice to feel the echo, like to hear the echo from somebody else when you have another woman that shares those experiences or have different experiences, and you can share, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is what you're going through. But that we come into letting go of the responsibility of always putting that on the shelf and allowing ourselves to come out and say, no, now is my time. I'm going to put me first. Yeah?
Yeah, so true.
It's been such a pleasure having you with us today again, Lynn.
Thank you.
And I'm talking about you like as if you're joining me. And I don't know why I do that, because we're doing this together.
Because you're a control freak.
That's another podcast, but yeah, you probably have a point. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I've never done a podcast, but this comes so naturally to me that you're right. I do just naturally take over. I don't know what that is, but listen, you come in anytime and correct me on that. But it's been so great being with you again and having our beautiful sisterhood. I just love it.
Wonderful part of our lives.
Oh, and we hope that you've all enjoyed it as well. So we look forward to see you at our next episode. Thanks so much.